So for this session, in mind, I was just thinking about ways that you guys could use design to help you with your communication, with ways that you could put your information out there, especially now since we are in much more of a digital space than before. So these are just some things to help you think about what you should be thinking about when you're putting these bits and pieces together to showcase your work. All right, so for you to have some kind of clear communication, you probably can't afford a graphic designer to do some of these things for you. You have limited resources. You need to shape your branding because we have the branding webinars too with Brian and so forth. So this could come hand in hand with some of those things as well as you start to build out all the presentations that you'll be doing for your social media and so on. And let me face it, aesthetics win. You know, we're in the business of fashion, so you want your stuff to look good, right? And you want to present it well to showcase to all the people that will be taking part in your business. So one of the first things you want to think about is consistency. So consistency in terms of your color palette, consistency in terms of your typefaces or the fonts that you use, and some kind of consistency in terms of how everything is laid out together, some kind of format that you'll be using over and over so people get more accustomed to something when they see a bit of information being put together by you. So when we think about color, you want to have a color palette that will be representative of your brand, right? Some people might have like a color palette that is more dark. Some people might have something that's a little more colorful. Some people might think about something that's a little more neutral. One of the things that could help you think about a color palette, I have two websites listed here, right? And they're very good at helping you think about these things. The one that is on screen is from Adobe, right? And the link is there, color.adobe.com. And what it does, you can create a color palette from a photograph. So in the image, you'll be seeing that there's like some little plus signs with some over certain colors in the areas. And that creates a palette which you can choose and say, look, this is a photograph that represents me. These 5 colors represent my brand very well. So you could use that to help you think about a color palette that is known for your brand, for your business, right? So those two sites, colors.co and color.adobe.com, can help you choose a color palette that you should then use over and over in all the items that you present to people. The last link below is something that could go, because this is just supposed to be something to help you guys just get started. So the link below is a slide that kind of goes into a deeper conversation about how you can use color and some color theory. I'll try to talk about some of it as I go forward, but the link is there for you to explore further on your own. So one of the things, so this is something I would let you guys look at in more detail. What the slide will be, the PowerPoint will be available for you guys later on, but some things you could think about when you're thinking about color, right? Color theory. So for example, like number 4, it talks about contrast. So if your contrast is too intense, you could split it. And what I mean by that, when you have colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, so in the color wheel, in this instance, red is on top, green is below, right? But a contrast with when you put red and green next to each other, you tend to get that could be a little too intense sometimes what you're doing. But maybe you could split that by going to the colors next to green on the color wheel. So you'll get something like a blue and like a yellow, right? Or like a kind of a blue-green and like a yellow-green kind of color. So it becomes a little bit of a softer mix, right? But you still get that kind of opposite with the red and the green, but not as harsh, right? So this goes into give you some quick tips in terms of how you could play with color and not just do like a basic red, blue, green, etc. So when we're thinking about color and how it could work for your brand and why you would probably want to use something over and over, this is an image that you'll probably come across time and time again, just to showcase why color could be important, why choosing a color could be important for your branding. Right now, a lot of people are thinking that they want to be sustainable, they want to be eco-friendly, and you'll see that green is used a lot with brands that seem to be associated with health and growth and peaceful. So you have things like Whole Foods, Animal Planet, right? Then if you look at the gray down below, right, you have neutral, calm, things you think about balance. They don't have black here, but I've decided to add that little on the right hand side. You'll see that black, a lot of fashion people here, we tend to associate black with luxury, right? A lot of big brands that we know, some of the most expensive brands, they embrace black in their communications, in a lot of the information that they present, right? So we have black and we have gray. So I'll just have some examples here, right? When we look at how these things are put together, right? Black and white. You have the gray from the Apple. Apple is considered more of a luxury type of company, right? With the price point that they sell their items at. And a lot of their packaging, a lot of their messaging is around the gray, isn't like any gray spectrum and black and white, right? We have some rackets there from Coco Chanel, right? And that is black and white. And also Belusi here, right? This is a high-end brand as well, right? Very simple, very clean, black and white. So this is something I would use at school when we're talking about color, different ways you could use color. It goes a little more into when you're putting together like a look or something like that. But it helps to think about how you could balance things out a little bit. So for instance, what we would think about would be having two main colors, right? And that would be something that you'd use the most throughout what you're doing. You'll have like accent colors that would complement the main colors. And then you have like a pop color that you don't put everywhere, but it's something that would stand out. It's something that would highlight, that kind of thing. So you'd see some people using it for like buttons and edge lining and so forth. The image on your right, what are you thinking about colors too? Some of the cooler colors go to the back and like the warmer colors come to the front. Cooler being like blue and warmer being like red. So you could use like a cooler colors as like a background and things you want to highlight and bring to the front. You could think about like the warmer, bolder colors. So typefaces. This is something that you'll see a lot of graphic designers grown about day in, day out. One of the key things you want to think about with fonts is less is better, right? Sometimes it's like 2 to 3 types of fonts on a page works best because you want to create a lot of clarity with your information and not confuse people too much. And you could practice like good font pairings, right? Sometimes it's not as easy to kind of figure that out, but I have like a link here, well, 2 links, because I want to talk about 2 things with fonts in particular, aside from how many you choose and just being careful with your pairings or your combination. Fonts.google.com, all of us here have businesses. You don't want to get in a situation where you are using you're using stuff that you could get in problems with for licensing and have to pay out a lot of money. Like say you use a particular font for your logo or use a particular font for like your website or something, right? You don't want to get into trouble with somebody saying, that's my font, you need to pay this amount of money to use this legally. Fonts.google.com, open source fonts, you can use it for free. You could do whatever you want with it, right? Because this is service that was made available for a lot of people worldwide, right? So I would suggest a lot of you guys go there and do it. The site also helps. They would say like, if you like this font, it goes well with this typeface, and they'll give you like little examples. So it's a wonderful site. I think you should start looking at using. And below this, the image that I use above for the font pairing there for Pacifico and the text below, they have some wonderful examples of great font pairings that you could use in ways that you would like to combine text in your documents, in your presentations, and so forth. So when we're thinking about format, right, the image to the left is something you'd see in different forms, right? And it's a little funny when you look at it because you will read this first, right? And then the next text below, and then this, and then they go back up to the small one on top, right? Now, I'm sure some people didn't quite read it like that, but I think most of you would have followed it as it appeared here on the page. Now, there's a little science to the way that you could put things on a screen, put things on a surface for people to read. You could kind of lead the eye where you wanted to, and there's like little tricks that you could use. So in this instance, a couple of things. The biggest text is the first thing that we will be drawn to, and it's also a color that is a little bit warmer, so we're attracted to that before we get to like the kind of gray of the other text. And then everything else of importance decreases in size as you go down. So you read the biggest thing first, the brightest thing first, then we read the second biggest thing, then the third biggest thing, and then the fourth biggest thing. So you could do that in the way that you put things on a page. Also, in this part of the world, we tend to read left to right. So you could arrange stuff on a page like that, right? It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's something that works well in a lot of cases. You want to also not confuse people by having like too many bits of information on a thing. If you go back and look at some of the ads that I used before, and we'll look at some going forward, you tend to be very clear, very simple with your message, and not confuse the page with too many things happening. So in terms of history, like art, people would have done something like this, where there are devices you could use to draw people into like your main message on something. And this is like an old picture that you would have seen used a lot of times and also recreated a lot of times. And the central figure here is the Christ in the center. And everything else serves to draw your eye towards him, right? Even all the people that you're looking at, the diagonal lines going straight towards the center of the figure. He is with some light behind him by the windows, the three windows in the back. So every time we're looking, our eyes are drawn towards him. Even the figures, right? The other apostles there, the way they are leaning, right? They tend to draw us towards the central person in the piece. So for things that you're using, right? You could have a headline, a subheadline, a photograph or an illustration, and then the rest of the information, right? Your copy. This is like a simple breakdown of what you could be using over and over. The headline or the photograph will serve as the thing that will draw people in first because of size or because of color. And then you have the subhead, which will give you like a little more information, and then the text would give like the rest of the information that is not as important. So you could use that over and over, and I'll give a couple examples of how this is used in different ways. So over here, in this magazine ad, right, there are two things you could either see first. For us, probably because we read left to right, we'll probably look at the headline on the left, right? New Boys on the Box, right? Or we'll see the photograph first. Either one is fine because then we are drawn into the page and then we get some more information as we go down. So the rest of the text give us some more details as we want to go further and further into the image. This here is interesting. It's a little more dynamic because now we have the headline, and the headline is that bold black on the neutral background. The model is a little bit muted because of the colors that she's wearing and so forth. So the headline draws us in and points our eyes towards the model, who then draws us down the page because of the pose that she's using. And then we start thinking about everything else. So like little tricks you could use to kind of lead people around, right? So you're the person leading the orchestra here. All right. I'm not going too fast, am I?
It's good on my end. You're doing good.
All right. So this is just like a combination of all the things again too, right? So we're seeing Solange here first. She's the first thing you see. We're drawn to the fashion. We're drawn to the image. She looks great. This is something that kind of draws our eye down vertically because of the pose that she has, and even like a slight nudge from the first photograph of her on the left points us towards the right, and then we're drawn down the page. Same time as the text, it's all in the mix, brings us down towards the other information. So you're the orchestra, you're the person leading the eye for people on the page, and it's all not cluttered. So you have like this kind of organized way in which you tell people the information that you need to tell people. So white space, right? This is another thing that graphic designers complain a lot about, right? Because they will come up across clients. We have a need, I say this to all of us, sometimes we have a need, like we see a white space and we feel like something just needs to be there. No, it doesn't always need to be there, right? That's just a compulsion that we get at times, and you have to fight it to make it work a little bit better, right? So we're thinking about less clutter. You want to leave space for your message to come through, right? We want to see that wonderful jacket that coat that ASAP is wearing, right? And the information here, he has a red coat on a white background. We actually don't even care about the Dior. Dior doesn't care that much to put like big Dior in front. We just need to see that this is a fabulous coat. It looks great on the person, and then we get the message in Dior. Oh, okay, so it's a shirt by Dior. We don't need to put like a lot of stuff in the background. The information is very straightforward. Right? Same thing for this, is all about the knit, the knit that the woman is wearing, right? We don't need to put like a lot of stuff. We don't need to work extra hard. People are smart, they'll figure it out. They're like, right, that's a nice, great knit. They might associate themselves with the way that the woman is posed, look kind of relaxed and so forth, right? And you just get the information. For life, not land, so it's a knit shirt and you get what you need to get. Right, this is another interesting one. It's just 3 models on a white background, right? So this is all about workwear, and you have some interesting dynamics happening. You should understand what's going on right now, right? So the way the models are leaned kind of points our eyes to certain things, and it creates like little groups and relationships happening, right? So the two on the left kind of point towards the top of the headline there, the 9 to 5 style, and then brings us back to the girl on the right and takes us down to the page. Right, so there's like little key things that you could use to put your information together, and people should get it when they look at it, right? It should be straightforward, and you don't have to work so hard to put like every single thing that you feel like you need to put on your page. Right, this is just like another great one, right? Polo, we get the idea. You see the model, looks great. Polo by Ralph Lauren, you don't need to say much out. Right, same thing here as well. We understand the point of this, right? The model, she's exercising, she feels great, right? It also feels a little empowering, but the thing is that we don't have to put like 10 million types of text to describe like who she is and why she's doing all that kind of stuff. We get it, right? And you can get it at Macy's, cool. So this is something that you guys will have to go on and play with on your own. Right, I have like some links at the end for software and things that you could use to help you in your work, right? So one of the main ones I'm gonna suggest is Canva, right? I'm guessing like a lot of you already know about Canva. For folks who, for whatever reason, want to use Photoshop and all of that, it's fine. This is a judgment-free environment, but Canva is a great service. It's a fantastic service, and it's there for folks who can't afford, or Photoshop is too complicated, or they don't have the time, or they don't have the computer for it, or they can't afford it. All of the above. Canva has some systems that work well to help you along the way with, like, especially with some of the things that I spoke about before. And you also have you also want to think about a grid system, right? So having a grid system helps you organize the content on your space, right? You could include white spaces in there. So you could say, well, I'm going to divide my page into 3, one top, middle, bottom. And every time I put something out there, there would always be this particular thing at the top, this particular thing in the middle, this particular thing at the bottom. For me, sometimes I'll put like the most important information at the top. In the middle, I'll have probably like the image that I'm doing, and down below, I'll probably put like my logo or like the messaging, like see you tomorrow or something like that. And the link is there too, that gives you a little more breakdown on the grid system, because there are different types of grids that you could use. It ties into what I have on the left there with aligning your text on a page, right? And you want to be careful, because sometimes people would, there are two things I see happen a lot with folks who are putting information on a page. There's a compulsion to do a lot of centering of text, because everything should be centered. You don't always have to do that. And there is the need sometimes to put like text that goes flush against the left on one part of the image, and then text that goes flush against the right, and then something is centered, and then something is diagonal, right? What you're doing is that you're confusing other people. People are going to get tired reading information. It's like, all right, that's just a lot going on. So try to keep it simple. Think about one type of way you want to use that information, and have fun being very clear with what you do, right? This is just like a very obvious example of a grid system in use, right? So each segment of this image has some type of thing that is happening, right? And it's broken up in a wonderful way with image and text and so forth. And you'll notice that all of the text in this instance is centered. So there's a consistency with the information as you go through the image that we're looking at, all right?